Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to another book review. Today I'm reviewing The Old Wrestler by Jeon Sungtae, translated by Sora Kim-Russell. So I'll explain what the story is, how it reads, and why it matters. It's a very direct and painful concept. What if coming home stripped your legend down to the heart that built it? A retired wrestling champion with signs of cognitive decline leaves an extended hospital stay in Japan to attend a wedding in his Korean hometown. When the trip shakes loose memories that no longer match the town's version of his life. The voice moves between pride and doubt as the wrestler recalls the crowds, the signature headbutt that thrilled them, and the damage that training and repetition left in its wake. So I'll focus on how the story tests memory against myth, what it says about hero worship, and how it turns a sports icon into a study of cost and responsibility. Sorry, excuse me. So, hello everyone, I'm Barry. This is Soul Book Club, and today I'm reviewing a more contemporary story than some of the other things I've reviewed recently. And so, this is The Old Wrestler by Jeon Sungtae. Jeon Sungtae. The Korean title is Taeyok Wrestler. And Chon is highly regarded. He's won several major literary awards in Korea, including the Shindong-yop Award, the Chaeman-shik Award, among many more. And he's had success as a novelist, an essay writer, and a short story writer. And a while ago, maybe even a couple of years ago now, I reviewed his first collection to be translated into English. It was called Wolves. And it's a great collection. I praised it highly at the time. Fantastic collection. And the translator of that collection was Sora Kim-Russell, who also translated this new story published in English and I believe also published in Korean in 2019. And I think this is his latest piece of work to be translated into English, at least as far as I'm aware. So there's not a huge amount of Jeon Sungtae English stuff out there, unfortunately. But anyway, so The Old Wrestler tells the story of a retired wrestler suffering from an unspecified neurodegenerative disorder. He's well into his twilight years. He's been living in a Japanese hospital for over a decade. But as the story begins, the old wrestler he's returning to his hometown in the Korean countryside to attend a wedding. But can he trust his fading memories of his beloved hometown? So this story, I believe, was inspired by a real and very famous wrestler named Kim Il, who sadly passed away in 2006. And Kim Il was a legendary wrestler with a career that lasted from the 1950s to the 1980s. And he was even the world heavyweight champion at one time. So how does Jeon Sungtae depict a wrestling legend's life in The Old Wrestler? So this is one of the most interesting aspects of the story. Though through this wrestler's return to his hometown, Chon gives us an insight into the life of a professional fighter with a long and successful career. I have almost no knowledge at all of wrestling, and so this was particularly interesting for me. So the wrestler reminisces about his career in the ring, recalling the opponents he fought and defeated, and desperate and vicious battles. And he's proud of his legacy. He beat the best Korean, the best Japanese, and the best Western fighters, and emerged victorious more often than not. And he reflects on the joy when he heard the fans cheering, and he talks about the exhilaration of seeing his fans sort of pumping their fists and yelling for him. However, at the same time, he's become quite significantly jaded by these memories, and his exploits in the wrestling in the ring made him a legend and a hometown hero. But increasingly, he thinks these memories are a lie. He thinks they mask a reality that's much different from the one his fans seem to be invested in. So, what is it about returning to his hometown after such a long absence that is making him doubt his legacy? What is the reality behind the myth? So, the story contains some great passages. So, for example, he had a celebrated move as a wrestler, like a signature move, and he would headbutt his opponent. And his fans loved this move. And the old wrestler remembers that when defeat was imminent and the audience pumped their fists and clamored impatiently, that's when he would pull out his signature move and turn the tide in his favor. He knew each time he stepped into the ring exactly what fans were hoping for, and he always delivered. And for the people of his hometown, this signature move is wrapped up in a kind of local folk tale. But the truth is the truth is very different and ultimately quite tragic. His trainer wanted him to use this move, encouraged him to use this move, and toughened his head with ashtrays and golf clubs. And the old wrestler says his head ached all the time. His eyes spun. And, at the end of each match, he says the difference between him and his cheering, happy fans was that he knows the physical pain that he'll experience after every match. And after years in the ring and 3,000 fights, it's his signature move that has probably contributed most to the cognitive decline that he's now experiencing. So, what do the people of his hometown make of their returning hero? Do they still view him the same way? So, this is the crux of the story. The wrestler thinks that to them, he's a hero, a living legend who, back in his prime, had built them a bridge to the mainland. And his mind is full of the many contributions he made to the small village in the countryside where he grew up. But as he arrives in his hometown after, many, many years away, he realizes that many of these memories are perhaps false. The reality is very different. And whereas before he thought being a wrestler was something to be proud of because the weak, the poor, the disenfranchised could live vicariously through his success, he now thinks perhaps this wasn't worth anything at all. So instead, we slowly piece together the truth behind his wrestling myth from the people of his hometown. He had actually fled his hometown during a period of economic difficulty in the 1950s because he says simply he was hungry. And whereas once he thought, just imagine the dreams of those poor, ragged children of the motherland who watched as their hero was tossed this way and that, only to emerge victorious. He thinks, he thought at the time, in a way, he was doing it for them. But is this true? What does that actually mean? Would it have been better if he had just stayed and contributed to his community in some way? So it might sound like John is writing about the nature of hero worship and the tendency to idolize sports stars. So does he reach a conclusion or have a final comment on the role of star sportsmen and women? So the final note is fascinating. It ends with the wrestler thinking it was all a lie. He squandered his life, while some of the townspeople are still very much invested in his myth. So it's a fascinating story and one that I appreciated more as I reflected on it. The old wrestler could just as easily be someone from BTS or Kim Kardashian or Yuna Kim or whoever, David Beckham or someone like that. What is the role or function of that dynamic that exists between celebrated iconic figures and the legions of adoring fans? And Jeon Sungtae has uncomfortable things to say about this relationship. However, in our age of heightened celebrity worship and fandom, I think it's a remarkably insightful and even valuable story. So thank you for watching this review of The Old Wrestler. If you've read the story, please leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. If you have any recommendations for future reviews, please also leave a comment. And thanks for watching. I think this is going to be the last one for today because it is too unbearably hot in here to spend any more time in this in this room. So take care, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye bye.